There are many parents that may wonder, how do I know if my child might be on the spectrum?
They like to play alone. They don't want to be around people. They don't make a lot of eye contact with others, not responding to their names. That can be a very stressful situation for them.
If a parent actually notices that, what should they do next?
Call immediately. Early intervention is such a key piece. All of the research shows the earlier you get in there, the better. Some kids go through the Birth to 3 program and then don't need any other services outside of that.
Hello, and welcome to the YINZ Podcast. I'm your host, Mariah Friedman, and today we're kicking it off with a special 3-part series. In this episode, we're diving into early intervention, why it's so critical, and how to recognize the early signs of autism, and what steps parents can take if they have concerns with their child's development. With an all-star teacher who's dedicated her career to supporting children with disabilities and their families for more than 25 years in the Pittsburgh area. She holds a doctorate's degree in leadership and administration, a master's degree in special education, and various other certifications related to working with children with disabilities. She's also a parent and family member of individuals with disabilities, giving her a unique perspective on this work. Dr. Maria Paul, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, of course. Let's start with your journey. So, obviously, you worked in many different roles in special education. So, what inspired you to enter this field?
So I come from a big family. My mom has 7 sisters, and we have lots and lots of cousins in the family.
Oh, yeah.
I'm one of the older cousins, and I was just raised to be a helper. So I've definitely had that helper, servant leader mindset. Also, just a knowledge seeker, and trying to share knowledge and empower families.
Well, that's beautiful. I absolutely love that.
We're a pretty tight-knit family too, so we've always helped each other out, and I know that a lot of others don't have that experience, so, I try to be a support system for them.
So, as you said, you came from a big family and, a lot of help. There are many parents out here that may wonder, how do I know if my child might be on the spectrum? And what are some early signs of that they can look for, especially if you have a big family?
Humans are social beings. They enjoy interactions. They seek out interactions. So sometimes those infants or toddlers that might be showing signs of autism, they like to play alone. They don't want to be around people. They don't make a lot of eye contact with others. That can be a very stressful situation for them. So definitely that eye contact and that limited social engagement is a piece that we look for early on for kids, who potentially may get an autism diagnosis. Not responding to their names consistently can be another sign of autism as well. Um, in terms of language too, not having any language at all, not imitating. Imitation is one of the key foundations for language, so if you've got kids that aren't imitating sounds or actions or facial expressions, that can definitely be an indicator that possibly the child's on the spectrum. But some kids with autism do have language, but the language that they use is not very functional. So they may label things that they see in the world. They may name colors and shapes and numbers, count. They may script scenes from their favorite shows that they watch, but they can't really tell you what they want or what they need. So that can often be one of those early signs of autism as well.
Yeah.
In terms of sensory systems too, you may see some unusual behaviors, overreactive to sounds or limited foods that they eat because they don't like the tastes or textures of them. That could be another indicator as well. You've got the kids that might walk on their toes. They may spin in circles. They might, instead of playing with a car, like to watch like the wheels spin on the car. So unusual behaviors like that too can also kind of be early indicators.
Oh, you know, well, that's quite an extensive list. Those are nice identifiers, and that's nice that now parents can think, okay, here's, maybe my child isn't communicating very well, and maybe they're having a hard time. if a parent actually notices that their child is, showing signs of this, what should they do next? Are there like specific medical tests or screenings that, can confirm that they necessarily have it with all of these symptoms?
So, early intervention is such a key piece of any disability, getting in there, getting services started as early as possible to kind of help rewire that brain and get those pathways going that might not be there. So, the Birth to Three program here in Allegheny County, the state of Pennsylvania, we have a Birth to Three early intervention program where you do not need any kind of diagnosis to qualify for services. You simply need a 25% delay in an area of your development. So that is the first step, is to find out who your early intervention provider is, give them a call, and then a team of us come out and do what's called a developmental screening on your child. So we look at all areas of development. We will look at motor skills, play skills, social emotional skills, feeding and self help skills, and communication skills. And what we do is a standardized assessment. So we compare your child's development to other kiddos their age, and we kind of see, are they where they need to be, or are they showing some kind of delay in an area of development? In the state of Pennsylvania, if they have a 25% delay, then they're eligible for some services. So they get kind of a developmental delay diagnosis. And then we kind of talk about what kind of services we think would uh, fit best to come into the home and help try to get those kids kind of caught up in whatever area they're showing a delay.
Oh, yeah. It's important to get it started more right away then, I would assume, just because you wanna, curb that instead of, you know, maybe some parents are told to wait and see,
Yeah.
before starting therapy, and others are encouraged to act immediately. And, based on what you just told me, maybe that's not such a good idea to wait and see. So what would your advice on that be?
Yeah, call immediately. All of the we've had all of this anecdotal research across the years that shows how impactful early intervention can be, but with all of the scientific advancement that's been going on in the world, we can actually see the brain. We can see the brain wiring. We can see how crucial early intervention is. All of the research shows the earlier you get in there and kind of create those neural pathways or adjust those neural pathways to help kids gain foundational skills, it's going to impact long term and make all the difference in the world, to the point where, some kids go through the Birth to Three program, and then don't need any other services outside of that. And they're able to exit early intervention and never need another service, across the course of their lifetime. Other kids are going to need services long term, but their delays may be less than what they would had they not had the early intervention services. So, the earlier you can get in there and get services started, the better.
Oh, that sounds like a good plan.
Yeah.
Um, and just, going kinda back on that, you want to your program is birth to 3, you said?
Yeah.
So, if you can get to them that early, they can start to work on this now so it's not such a struggle when they get older. Can you maybe explain why it might be so crucial for children with developmental delays or disabilities to get that early intervention?
As I kind of mentioned before, the whole brain wiring thing, we've got to get those neural pathways built so that the kids have those foundational skills so they're ready to learn. And we know so much more about the brain today, and how important it is to first make sure children feel safe and secure in the world, and that kind of creates that foundational brain. And then the next kind of part of the brain that they need to work on is kind of those sensory systems. We've got to get kids bodies ready for learning. They have to be able to engage and not be hindered by sensory systems that might be impacting learnings. I always tell families, when kids go to kindergarten, the teachers don't care as much if they know their ABCs and one, two, threes. It's, can they sit, look, and listen? Because that is where all of the learning comes from. They have to be calm and regulated. Their bodies and brains need to be organized and ready to, so that they're ready to learn. Um, And that is a piece that early intervention can kind of help with. Occupational therapists can kind of come in. Also, developmental and speech therapists have a little bit of training as well on those sensory systems and how to kind of calm and organize those kids so that then they're ready for that next step, that cognitive piece where they're learning all of the skills.
Is there anything else more that we can, maybe tell these parents out here that might encourage them to maybe not be so stressed about this, but, to kind of help them reassure that they will be able to help their children, especially the earlier on that they can catch this?
Yeah. So in the state of Pennsylvania, early intervention is a free service. There's never a cost out of pocket for families. So that's what I always tell families, like, we're free. We come into your home. Not only do we work with the kids, but we really come from the coaching model. So we are showing families how to incorporate activities and skills into their natural daily routines so that they can support their children because, our therapist may only come in for an hour a week to work with the kiddos. You, as the family, are there, 24/7 with your kiddos. So we need to give you the skills to then help your child. So that's one thing I always say to families, it's free. We come into your home, and we're not going to hurt anything. The only thing we can do, is help your child learn and grow. And the earlier you catch it, the like I said, the better the chances that they aren't gonna need things long term either. The other piece of things too is information does not have to be shared. Um, in the state of Pennsylvania, birth to 3 is one program, and then we help you to transition to the 3 to 5 program and then to the school age program. But if you do not wanna share information, preschool or when your child hits kindergarten that they ever got early intervention, that is all confidential. We do not have to share that if you don't want to. So if, you're worried about that stigma piece of things, that information does not have to be shared ever. So the other piece I just thought of too, is a lot of times I get phone calls and the Birth to 3 program, we are asked to come in to homes or daycares because kids have challenging behaviors. They're busy, they're on the go, they're moving, they don't sit still, they're not listening. And what it really breaks down to is those sensory systems. Those sensory systems are dysregulated. So just like we teach kids other skills, we also have to teach them how to manage their emotions. That's not something that they just, can learn naturally. A lot of times they need a little extra practice and focus on those skills. So, a lot of times, if you see your child having challenging behaviors, as we kind of dig into things, it might not truly be behaviors, but truly a sensory system that's dysregulated that we can come in and give you and the daycare and whoever some strategies to address those sensory systems, and then the behaviors disappear. So,
Okay. Well, thank you for all of that advice. And, hopefully this is of reassuring to those parents out there. Maybe they can maybe seek help where they might not have before because they just didn't understand that this is a free service that can help your family and to bring into your own home so they're comfortable while doing it,
yep.
which is important. All right. That wraps up our first episode on early intervention. On our next episode, we will focus on education, how to navigate IEPs, what therapies children may need, and how parents can ensure that their children get the correct support in school.